Hello and welcome to another video review. This is Dead Island for PC, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Mac. This is yet another zombie action game developed by Techland and published by Deep Silver in October of 2011. And it was preceded by a fairly controversial advertising campaign where you can look up the ads yourself. They were clearly designed to be, ooh, this is edgy. And ironically, the advertisements were pretty much false advertising. They tried to put it off as this kind of story-driven survival horror experience in the ads, and then it turns out it's a pretty mindless action game. A lot of people would like to describe it as a survival horror game or as an action role-playing game. It's neither of those. It's a straight-up action game. I'll get to that when I get to the gameplay. But the real question here is it any good? I mean, it is yet another zombie game, and those are a dime a dozen. So, is this one worth playing? Well, before we really get into the meat of the game, the presentation leaves a lot to be desired. It's ugly. Even for the year it came out, it's an ugly game. Pretty much all it's got going for it is, oh hey, it's got lots of bloom lighting, which is blinding, and gives you headaches. It's got some color in it, which is nice. I appreciate that. I mean, it is a tropical environment. You would expect there to be some color. But at least it's not going for the total brown and gray and realistic look. Because, let's face it, that's tired, and it would not fit in with a tropical environment at all. That said, texture work is merely at best. It works. It's about what you would expect from a typical console game. The modeling is In fact, I would put it a bit more on the subpar side of things. The animations, however, are downright terrible. They're ugly and clunky. A lot of them are really sluggish and look ridiculous. And so that's one of the big problems I have with it. It's just not pleasant to look at. At least they put in a lot of detail into the environments, as in there's a lot of stuff in there. So it's got that going for it at least. But other than that, the presentation leaves a lot to be desired, especially when you get to the sound design department. Especially in the music department. Whoever thought it was a good idea to have that "Who do you voodoo, bitch?" crap at the beginning of the game was an idiot. That was headache-inducing. And facepalm-inducing. It was painfully bad. The rest of the music is pretty generic and is completely lackluster. I didn't even notice it half the time. Then you got the voice acting, which is cringeworthy. Yay, cringeworthy voice acting. It's been a while since we've had something like that. Actually, no, it hasn't, but you get the idea. This was a fairly major release, and it has cringeworthy voice acting. A lot of it being very racially stereotyped. Yay! Then there's the sound effects. At least the sound effects are okay. I'll give them that. The sound effects are okay. They work. And that's really all they need to do. They work. But the presentation in general leaves a lot to be desired. A lot. But obviously what really matter here are the story and the gameplay. And the story in this is, okay, let's face it, it's a zombie game. You don't care what the story is. But suffice to say, the idea is that you pick one of 4 characters and you wake up on this fictional island of Banoi, which is a resort island in the game, and it's a zombie apocalypse. You are one of the few people who is apparently immune to the infection, and that's pretty much it. It does branch off later on with a more ridiculous plot line than that, but by that point you really don't give a crap. And by that point, it's quite a few hours into the game. And again, you really don't give a crap. Because by that point, the gameplay has worn you down into just complete tedium. You see, this is basically Borderlands with zombies. What does that mean? Well, it means one of these 4 characters you pick has different abilities. One of them, the Asian woman, who is Chinese Special Forces apparently, is good with blades. Yay! Racist stereotypes! And then you've got the other character who's good with guns, and the other character who's good with blunt objects, and that sort of thing. Each of them has their own set of abilities that, as you level up, you get to put your points into. Most of them are pretty static. In fact, pretty much all of them are static. And you just go throughout the island, completing a few fetch quests, whacking zombies in the face, over and over and over and over again, until eventually, fairly late in the game, you get access to guns, in which case you start shooting zombies in the face over and over and over again. Guns clearly not being the focus here because they just feel tacked on. And the entire character for that is pretty much useless until fairly late in the game, so that becomes a problem. See, what they put focus on is the melee system. Now, their melee system was designed around a console, which means it's designed around analog sticks. It is not designed around keyboard and mouse. You see, on a console, you can use the analog sticks to determine how you're going to swing the weapon and such like that. So that spices things up a bit. Meanwhile, on PC, you know what you do? You just click. Over and over and over again. But you don't even really need to do that, because you find out fairly quickly that, I mean, you can use the weapons and it takes the zombies out quicker at the cost of damaging the weapons, or you can just kick them. Your kick never breaks. All that happens is you might run out of stamina, which you use for sprinting and swinging and such like that. But the kick never runs out of ammo, it never breaks, and over time it does a decent amount of damage. So, basically you can just say that the game boils down to two things: fetch quests and whacking zombies in the face. Is it satisfying? Not at all. The zombies eventually become the equivalent of bullet sponges, although in this case it's more like axe and machete and such sponges. It's incredibly tedious. The game just devolves into incredible amounts of tedium very, very quickly. Frankly, I can't remotely comprehend why anyone finds that fun. I have never been able to find out why anyone finds that fun. Zombies are some of the most boring enemies you can possibly fight in any game. They are shambling corpses. Although in this case, they do throw in a few different types of zombies. Some of them are really big and just take a lot of damage. Some of them run at you as opposed to just kind of shamble. Woo. Let's face it, it's a zombie game. If you like zombie games, you're probably going to be able to get something out of this. But zombies are incredibly tired. Even when this game came out, they were already tired. And there was basically no creative drive in this thing whatsoever. It just seems to tick off the tick boxes. It's like, we got zombies, check. We got different types of zombies, check. We got a variety of scavenged weaponry, check. So on and so forth. Hell, we got the Asian chick who's good with blades, check. I really don't see how anyone finds this game fun. I don't see how anyone finds it amusing in any regard. I mean, the voice acting is not funny, it's just cringeworthy. You see, if you were playing something like Resident Evil, yes, the voice acting is cringeworthy, but it's funny. It's funny to hear, there must be a back door around here somewhere. Let's try to find it first, shall we? See, that's kind of funny, because the line delivery is so bad that it's funny. In this, the line delivery is just so bad it's painful. So, you don't have the voice acting to be funny. You don't have any funny jokes in here. It's all played pretty deadly serious. Which is really annoying, because if you're doing zombies, you can't do deadly serious and then have someone just kicking them all over the place without a second thought. If you're going to do serious zombies, you do something like The Walking Dead. So, what should they have done? They should have done funny zombies. There's plenty of things that do funny zombies. This isn't one of them. It plays it deadly serious. It doesn't have any humor in it. Any humor you might derive from it comes from you, not from the game. So, what about co-op? Well, I guess you can get some fun out of co-op, like you can with just about anything, except for the fact that it's the same exact game. All you're doing is whacking zombies in the face over and over again. The entire game. And it's a long game. They really drag things out. So here's the problem with Dead Island. It's a zombie game in a sea of zombie games. And nothing really sets it apart except for the whole, oh, you can use analog sticks to whack zombies in the face thing. That's it. That's all it sets it apart. Meanwhile, of course, on PC, all you're doing is clicking on things the same you would with, say, the firearms in the game. The only problem with the firearms being, by the time you get them, they don't really matter all that much. And they alert all the zombies to your presence anyway, so what's the point? Slightly more efficient, I guess? That's about it. Only ammo can be a problem sometimes, but at any rate, what you've got here is a pretty badly designed game overall. They put all their eggs into one basket, and it ended up making the game incredibly tedious. It's shamelessly cloning Borderlands in a lot of ways. And Borderlands wasn't very good to begin with. It's very lacking in the presentation department, particularly in the voice acting, which is cringeworthy and painful to listen to, as is some of the music. The writing is awful. The co-op gameplay doesn't really do anything to make the game better, which is a shame, because co-op's supposed to make everything better, and it doesn't really help in this case, because it's a mindless zombie game. And so, what are you left with? Well, it's got quite a few bugs in it, still. Other than that, it does basically nothing to stand out of the crowd except for the whole analog stick melee combat thing and the slightly controversial advertising campaign. It is a mindless first-person action game with tacked-on RPG elements, and it leaves a lot to be desired. In fact, it was downright painful to play half the time because of the low FOV giving me headaches. And, of course, the whole who do you voodoo bitch thing being incredibly irritating. And just so many things about the game being incredibly irritating. So what is Dead Island? Dead Island is something that's not at all worth your time. There's so many other options out there. You want a serious zombie game? You play something like Walking Dead. You want something that's more wacky and over the top and is still a co-op game? Pick up Killing Floor. It's actually fun. What you got here is nothing but mindless tedium. I give it a 1.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching.